There are secrets so deep, so dark, you never think they'll become your reality. I used to hear stories about people crossing lines they never thought they would, and I'd shake my head, thinking, that could never be me. And yet here I was, trapped inside a secret so overwhelming, it consumed every waking moment. Each breath felt heavier than the last. Each heartbeat echoed in my chest, reminding me of everything I stood to lose. I was haunted, not by ghosts, not by nightmares, but by something far scarier, my own choices. Choices I made in moments of weakness, moments of loneliness, moments when all I wanted was to feel alive again, even just for a second. I know you felt it too, that gnawing emptiness, that ache for something you can't even name, something your heart desperately craves, but your head says you shouldn't have. Maybe you've been in a crowded room, surrounded by people who claim to love you, but still felt invisible, as though your presence meant nothing. Or maybe you've laid awake beside someone who's supposed to know every piece of your heart, and yet they feel like a complete stranger, miles away even though they're right next to you. That was my life. Picture a warm home on the outside, flowers blooming in the yard, a dinner table filled every evening. But on the inside, it was hollow. My husband Mark, sweet and responsible as he was, had forgotten I existed beyond meals and laundry and polite conversation. My teenage daughter Emily was caught up in her world, phones, friends, everything but family. I was just there, fading into the wallpaper, becoming invisible, becoming irrelevant. Until one day, someone looked at me and saw more. Someone noticed the sadness behind my smile, the quiet desperation in my eyes. He saw me, the real me, the woman I'd hidden away beneath layers of duties, responsibilities, and loneliness. And suddenly, I wasn't invisible anymore. I felt something powerful stirring inside me. Something dangerous, forbidden, but irresistible. Have you ever had that moment, a spark so intense, it ignites everything you've tried to bury deep down inside you? It pulls at you until you can't resist, until logic vanishes and all you're left with is desire and need, whispering in your ear that you deserve this, that just once won't hurt, that you can handle it. But the truth? I couldn't handle it. And what happened next? It changed everything. It tore down every belief I had about who I was, about right and wrong, about love and betrayal. If you've ever felt unseen, unloved, trapped between desire and morality, wondering how far you'd go if given the chance, then listen closely. Because my story isn't just mine, it could be yours too, your neighbors, your best friends. It's raw, it's real, and it's filled with truths that might be hard to hear, but impossible to ignore. Subscribe right now to Heartfelt Tales Unfold, where real stories reveal the hidden corners of the human heart. Trust me, you won't want to miss what comes next. My name's Sarah. I'm in my mid-40s, and if you asked anyone around me, my neighbors, friends, the women I chat with at the grocery store, they'd all tell you I have the perfect life. On the outside, everything looks polished, organized, bright, and beautiful. A picturesque suburban house with white shutters, carefully trimmed lawns, and roses blooming along the driveway. Inside, family photos line the walls, smiling faces captured in golden moments, framed memories of birthdays, vacations, and Christmas mornings. But behind those pictures, behind every carefully posed smile, there's a quiet emptiness. It didn't happen overnight. No one wakes up one morning and feels suddenly invisible. It's gradual, quiet, sneaking in like shadows at sunset until you're swallowed whole. My husband Mark is a good man, truly. He's stable, reliable, the kind of man who fixes things around the house without being asked, who works tirelessly to provide. But somewhere along the way, providing turned into distance. Mark's career consumed him, swallowing up his time, his attention, his affection, until all that remained for me were crumbs. Our conversations became predictable, mechanical exchanges about bills, groceries, and schedules. The laughter that used to fill our home faded into silence, replaced by the quiet hum of the refrigerator, the distant ticking of a clock that felt louder every lonely night. Our teenage daughter Emily, who used to run to me for comfort, now locked herself away behind closed doors, absorbed by friends and social media. I tried to reach her, but it was like knocking on a door nobody would open. I felt invisible even to my own child, my voice muffled behind her headphones, my love bouncing off a shield I couldn't penetrate. Night after night, I'd set the dinner table, candles lit, dishes steaming. But the warmth of my meals went cold waiting for Mark's late returns from work. Emily ate quickly, eyes glued to her phone, barely acknowledging my existence. I'd sit alone afterward, the untouched plates a reminder of how disconnected we'd become. In those quiet, lonely evenings, surrounded by pictures of a happy family, I felt more isolated than ever. Then, slowly, without warning, another voice entered my world. Jason, Mark's close friend from college. He'd always been around, part of our casual gatherings, family barbecues, and weekend dinners. He was charming, witty, easy to talk to, the type of person whose energy fills a room effortlessly. But until now, I'd never truly noticed him, not in the way I started to. It began subtly, the way he'd pause to really listen when I spoke, leaning in slightly, eyes focused on mine, making me feel heard and understood. A casual compliment about my cooking or my new hairstyle suddenly felt personal, intimate, warming me from the inside. I noticed myself looking forward to those small moments when he'd drop by our house, sometimes unexpectedly, just to chat with Mark. But Mark was rarely home, leaving me and Jason in casual conversation, laughter bubbling between us like a forgotten melody. Jason had a natural warmth, an attentive gentleness Mark had long forgotten. I found myself opening up to him about trivial things, my favorite books, memories of my childhood, dreams I'd hidden away years ago. His presence was magnetic, quietly pulling me closer every time. Yet, beneath those innocent interactions, I felt something else, a stirring, a quiet whisper that made my heart race. Something dangerous and exhilarating that woke parts of me I'd long buried. Jason seemed to sense it too, his eyes lingering longer than they should, his smile carrying a deeper meaning that made my pulse quicken. At first, I convinced myself it was harmless, a harmless friendship, a simple connection that filled the emptiness in my life. But deep down, I knew I was standing at the edge of something forbidden, something that could tear apart everything I'd built. It terrified me, this pull, this desire I wasn't supposed to feel. And yet, it also thrilled me, made me feel alive again. For the first time in years, someone saw me not as a mother, not as a wife, but as a woman deserving of attention, affection, even admiration. I struggled with these feelings every night. I'd lie awake, staring at the ceiling, consumed by guilt and excitement all at once. My mind raced, spinning between images of Mark, distant and absorbed by work, and Jason, whose attentive gaze stirred something primal and undeniable inside me. Have you ever stood at the edge of a cliff, looking down into the deep, knowing one step could change your life forever? That's exactly how I felt. Terrified and tempted, trapped between the right choice and the one that felt so irresistibly good. But nothing could prepare me for what happened next, the moment when my carefully controlled world unraveled completely. Stay with me, because this next part is something you won't see coming. It was a warm Saturday afternoon, the kind you'd picture in a magazine, clear skies, bright sun, neighbors chatting comfortably beneath the shade of maple trees. Our backyard barbecue had always been a tradition in the neighborhood, a relaxed gathering meant to bring everyone closer together. And yet, as I moved from table to table, refilling iced teas and offering second helpings, I felt strangely disconnected from it all, an outsider smiling politely, hidden behind a mask I'd worn for years. Mark was busy at the grill, his eyes focused more on perfecting steaks than on noticing how I hovered quietly, a shadow in the bright sunlight. Emily sat off to the side, headphones dangling from her ears, texting furiously, oblivious to the party around her. The chatter of neighbors blended into background noise, a constant hum reinforcing how alone I truly was, even amidst a crowd. And then, there he was, Jason, moving through the gate with a casual confidence that seemed to shift the air itself. My heart fluttered nervously as I watched him greet everyone warmly, his easy smile effortlessly charming. As our eyes met, I felt an unexpected jolt rush through me, something quick, electric, undeniable. I quickly looked away, trying to shake off the sensation, but it lingered, igniting something deep within me. Jason made his way toward me, weaving effortlessly between guests, his presence magnetic and comforting all at once. I felt my cheeks flush slightly as he came close, his eyes warm and attentive as always. "Hey Sarah," he greeted, his voice gentle, soothing. "Everything looks great. You really know how to bring people together." A simple compliment, one I'd normally dismiss politely. But this time, the way he said it, the softness of his tone, the sincerity in his eyes, touched something hidden inside me, a part of myself I'd nearly forgotten existed. "Thank you," I responded quietly, my voice barely louder than a whisper. "I'm glad you could make it." We stood silently for a moment, surrounded by laughter and conversations that felt distant and muffled. He reached out casually, picking up a plate from the table next to me. It was innocent, so simple. But in doing so, his hand brushed against mine, skin grazing skin in the gentlest, most accidental touch imaginable. Yet, in that brief instant, time slowed. My breath caught sharply, heat racing up my spine. My heart pounded loudly in my ears, a rhythm echoing the silent, forbidden craving now growing within me. Our eyes met again, longer this time, and I saw something reflected there, a question, a knowing, perhaps even longing. My pulse quickened, and suddenly, everything around us faded away. Mark, Emily, neighbors, all gone. There was only Jason and me, standing quietly in that stolen moment, bound by a subtle yet profound connection. "You okay?" Jason asked softly, breaking the spell, yet his voice carried an intimacy that lingered. I nodded quickly, embarrassed, flustered, my thoughts spinning in dizzy circles. I'm fine," I stammered, forcing a smile. But inside, I felt anything but fine. I was shaken, vulnerable, and, to my own confusion, deeply alive. Jason smiled gently, almost knowingly, then stepped back into the mingling crowd. My eyes followed him unconsciously, noticing the easy way he laughed, how people gravitated towards his warmth. My heart tightened painfully, realizing how much I longed for even a fraction of that connection, that ease, in my own marriage. For the rest of the day, I struggled to regain composure, stealing glances toward Jason whenever I could, each time feeling both guilty and exhilarated. The barbecue went on as usual. Neighbors laughing, plates emptied, music playing, but something inside me had irrevocably shifted. At that moment, I felt seen, truly seen, for the first time in years. Jason hadn't just noticed me. He'd awakened a yearning I'd buried beneath layers of responsibilities and silent disappointments. A yearning that felt as terrifying as it did irresistible. Little did I know where that single, innocent touch would lead. That accidental brush of hands, that gentle, lingering gaze, it was like lighting a match near dry wood, something small enough to overlook but powerful enough to ignite an uncontrollable fire. Looking back now, I realize that was the exact moment, the quiet, ordinary moment, that changed everything. Because once you feel something that real, that intoxicatingly human, how do you ever go back to pretending? Believe me, what happened next was something I never imagined, something so overwhelming, so complicated, that even now it still keeps me awake at night. In the days following that barbecue, I felt like I was walking through a fog, caught somewhere between excitement and shame. My mind kept replaying that single, innocent touch, Jason's soft gaze, and the warmth of being truly noticed after feeling invisible for so long. But each thought of Jason was immediately followed by a sharp, piercing stab of guilt. Mark was my husband, my partner, the man I'd chosen to share my life with. We'd built a home together, raised a child, created memories. But the truth I didn't want to admit was that, lately, it felt like Mark had forgotten I was there. Forgotten the woman he'd married, the woman with dreams, desires, and a heart that craved intimacy. At first, I tried to silence the voice in my head, the voice whispering Jason's name, suggesting things that were undeniably wrong. I'd force myself to focus on Mark, to remember the happier times, the anniversaries, birthdays, vacations filled with laughter. I'd stare at our wedding photo on the bedside table, desperately searching for the spark that once ignited between us, hoping to feel it again. But as days turned into weeks, my loneliness only deepened. Mark continued to come home late, offering brief smiles and casual nods instead of the warmth I needed so badly. Conversations became shorter, colder, purely transactional. Our evenings were filled with silence, a heavy, suffocating silence that made me feel as if I didn't exist at all. I'd sit there, staring at the TV screen without seeing it, trying to convince myself that this emptiness was temporary. But deep down, I knew it had become our new normal. Every night, I battled with myself. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my heart and mind fighting fiercely within me. How could I, a faithful wife, even entertain these thoughts? Jason was Mark's friend. Crossing that line would destroy friendships, shatter my marriage, ruin everything I had spent years building. Yet each time I closed my eyes, Jason's gentle smile haunted me, promising comfort, affection, and an escape from loneliness that had consumed me for too long. I'd whisper quietly in the dark, trying to justify these forbidden feelings, desperate to rationalize the storm inside my heart. Is it wrong to want someone to notice me again? To want to feel desired, seen, heard, even just for a moment? My mind spiraled into darker places, places that terrified me with their honesty. Places where I wondered what it would feel like to allow myself to truly feel again, to be held, cherished, and valued, not as a mother or a caretaker or someone lost in the background, but as a woman craving genuine connection. I'd catch glimpses of myself in the mirror, barely recognizing the woman staring back, a woman filled with hidden desires, with secrets, guilt, and longing. Was this who I had become? I'd pace the kitchen in the early hours, unable to sleep, the silence deafening as I battled internally, each side pulling at my conscience like a relentless tug-of-war. You're betraying Mark just by thinking these thoughts, I'd scold myself. You made vows. You have responsibilities, Sarah. But another voice whispered back, softer yet stronger in its temptation. But don't you deserve happiness? Don't you deserve to feel alive again? It was exhausting, this internal war, morality versus desire, loyalty versus loneliness. I felt trapped between who I was supposed to be and who I secretly wished I could become. The guilt and shame of my hidden feelings threatened to overwhelm me, yet I couldn't deny the warmth I felt whenever Jason crossed my mind, the comfort, the excitement, the possibility of something beautiful amidst the emptiness. I knew it was dangerous, reckless, even selfish. Yet every day that passed without real affection from Mark, every dinner eaten in silence, every evening spent feeling unseen and unloved, pushed me a little closer to giving in to my forbidden desires. I became an actress in my own home, smiling brightly when Mark returned late from work, making excuses for his absence and pretending not to feel hurt when Emily ignored me. I wondered, painfully, if anyone would even notice if I disappeared altogether. And through all that, Jason's presence lingered in the shadows of my mind, offering comfort I desperately needed, a comfort Mark no longer provided. I couldn't shake it, couldn't erase him from my heart, no matter how hard I tried. Every glance from Jason, every quiet laugh we shared during casual meetings made the invisible chains around my heart tighten, drawing me nearer to him and further away from the woman I believed myself to be. I had always prided myself on my morals, on my strength, my integrity. But now I questioned everything. Was I truly strong, or was I simply hiding from the truth? Was I a good wife, or just someone silently enduring unhappiness to avoid hurting others? Could I really live the rest of my life feeling unseen, unloved, fading quietly into nothingness? This wasn't just about Jason, it was about me. About discovering if I still had a heart capable of love, passion, and desire. It terrified me, yet the terror itself made me feel more alive than I had in years. It was exhilarating and frightening, beautiful and heartbreaking, all at once. Deep down, I knew I was standing at a crossroads, one path leading back to safety, stability, and loneliness, the other toward passion, uncertainty, and risk. Each choice terrified me equally. I was on the verge of making a decision that could either heal or destroy my entire life. And yet, I knew in my heart that I was already slipping, slowly surrendering to something I couldn't fully control. I was tired of being invisible, tired of pretending everything was fine when inside I was screaming for affection. And though I knew it was wrong, though every moral fiber within me shouted to stop, I found myself inching closer towards something forbidden. Something I feared would soon become impossible to resist. If you've ever felt caught between desire and duty, longing and loneliness, keep listening, because what happened next wasn't something I ever thought myself capable of. It started with a text, something simple, something small, so innocent at first that I convinced myself it meant nothing. Jason sent a quick message one afternoon, casually mentioning how he enjoyed our conversation at the barbecue and hoped we'd talk more soon. My heart fluttered unexpectedly at his words. They felt harmless enough, friendly even. But somewhere inside me, a quiet voice whispered that this was more than friendship. I hesitated at first, typing and erasing my response multiple times, feeling guilty for even entertaining the idea of replying. But finally, I did, a simple reply that felt safe enough. Me too. It was nice to talk again. I thought I was still in control. I thought I could manage this connection without crossing any lines. But soon, those occasional, innocent texts became frequent, increasingly personal conversations. At first, Jason asked about my day, harmlessly checking in, offering small words of encouragement that meant so much after years of feeling overlooked. Gradually, though, the topics shifted: our favorite music, movies, personal dreams, hidden fears. Conversations that felt intimate, dangerously close, but I justified it, telling myself it was nothing more than friendship, a harmless emotional escape from the loneliness I'd grown used to. Yet deep down, I knew it was more. Each message from Jason lit up my screen and my heart simultaneously, making my pulse quicken, sending an electrifying thrill through me, each word an invisible caress filling the emptiness Mark had left behind. Each text lingered in my mind long after our conversations ended, leaving me craving more, counting the moments until I'd hear from him again. It wasn't long before our texts turned into secret meetings, innocent at first, under easy pretenses. A quick coffee downtown, conveniently near my errands, a casual walk at the park, easy to explain away if questioned. Every meeting felt dangerously exciting, each moment loaded with anticipation and a heavy sense of secrecy. When we were together, the world around us faded, and my heart pounded relentlessly, fully aware of the invisible line we hovered dangerously close to crossing. I remember clearly one afternoon, sitting side by side on a park bench beneath a quiet canopy of trees, leaves rustling gently above us. The conversation flowed effortlessly, comfortably, as though we'd known each other forever. Jason shared stories from his life, his own struggles and vulnerabilities, his dreams and regrets. His honesty touched something deep inside me, something I'd never dared to reveal even to Mark. In that moment, I wanted desperately to share all of myself with Jason, to be known, understood, and truly seen by him. Jason turned toward me, his eyes searching mine carefully, quietly. His voice was softer, gentler than I'd ever heard as he said, "You know, Sarah, you deserve someone who notices how incredible you truly are. Someone who sees you." My heart caught in my chest, his words striking a chord so deep I almost couldn't breathe. I knew what he was implying, knew the unspoken message hidden within his gentle words. And yet, instead of pulling away, I found myself leaning closer, heart racing, suddenly desperate for the warmth and comfort he silently offered. My fingers trembled, fighting an impulse to reach out and touch him, to confirm the reality of this growing intimacy between us. I convinced myself I was still in control. After all, we'd done nothing explicitly wrong, nothing physical. Yet, each glance, each whispered word, every careful touch disguised as accidental brushed against the boundaries I'd sworn never to cross. My internal dialogue intensified with each passing day, a relentless battle raging within my heart and mind. "This is wrong, Sarah," my conscience warned fiercely, trying desperately to pull me back from the edge. But another voice, softer, more persuasive, argued back passionately, "Don't you deserve this feeling? Haven't you sacrificed enough? It's only a conversation, only friendship, right?" I was lying to myself. Because beneath every justification, every rationalization, was a terrifying yet exhilarating truth. I was falling for Jason, emotionally, deeply, irreversibly. And worse, I didn't truly want to stop. My heart grew desperate, caught in a storm of desire and guilt, excitement and fear. Each night, I'd toss and turn, replaying our interactions over and over, filled with anxiety and longing. I felt addicted, powerless against the overwhelming need for attention, affection, validation. I knew Mark and Emily were oblivious to my turmoil, comfortably distracted, unaware of my emotional unraveling, the silent storm consuming me from within. Jason's presence in my life escalated quietly, each encounter pulling me deeper. A stolen glance, the way his hand lingered near mine, the warmth of his gaze, all subtle gestures that spoke louder than words. We'd exchange lingering looks when Mark wasn't watching, secret smiles heavy with hidden meaning. Our relationship hovered in that intoxicating space between friendship and something far more dangerous, something that set my heart racing and threatened to shatter everything I'd built. I was terrified yet undeniably drawn, inching closer to the edge every day. Deep down, a voice whispered the undeniable truth: I was no longer in control. The facade of innocent friendship was slowly crumbling, revealing something raw, passionate, irresistible beneath it. One night, as I sat alone in the quiet of our empty living room, staring at my phone, desperately waiting for Jason's name to appear again, it hit me clearly: I was already lost. I'd lied to myself, pretending I could handle this, that I could walk away anytime unaffected. But the truth was, I couldn't. Jason had already taken root inside my heart, occupying spaces I'd kept locked and hidden for years. I felt trapped yet exhilarated, scared yet deeply alive, caught in a whirlwind of emotions I could no longer control. I convinced myself I was in control. I whispered softly to the empty room, tears welling in my eyes, heart aching with a truth I could no longer deny. But deep down, I knew I was slipping away. It was a Saturday evening. The neighborhood was buzzing with laughter and soft music drifting through open windows. One of our neighbors was hosting a casual party, a friendly get-together that felt perfectly innocent on the surface. Mark, as usual, was busy chatting about work, his attention miles away from me. Emily was off with friends, her laughter carefree and distant. I drifted through the gathering, feeling strangely detached, smiling politely but quietly aching inside. Then, across the softly lit backyard patio, I saw Jason. He stood alone near the garden wall, the gentle glow of lanterns illuminating his thoughtful expression. My heart instantly quickened, that familiar rush of heat spreading through my veins. Our eyes locked from across the yard, just a brief look, but it felt like the air crackled between us. I tried to look away, to resist, but something stronger than my willpower pulled me toward him. As I moved closer, I could feel my breathing quicken, my pulse fluttering wildly. I felt reckless, daring, yet undeniably drawn toward him. Jason's eyes met mine again, a quiet intensity lingering in his gaze. "Hey," he said softly, his voice barely louder than a whisper, sending shivers down my spine. "Hey," I responded quietly, heart hammering loudly in my chest, drowning out the laughter and conversations around us. We stood silently for a moment, the awkward tension between us building rapidly, the space suddenly charged with unsaid emotions. I struggled to find words, desperate to break the heavy silence, yet afraid to speak the truth that lingered just beneath the surface. Jason finally broke the silence, stepping closer, his voice gentle, filled with unspoken meaning. "You look beautiful tonight, Sarah. But then, you always do." My breath caught sharply. Such a simple compliment, yet it shook me to my core. Tears pricked the corners of my eyes, my heart aching desperately for the warmth in his words, the warmth I'd craved for so long. All my careful control was rapidly slipping away, replaced by raw, overwhelming emotion. "Jason," I whispered, my voice trembling. We shouldn't. This is dangerous. I know, he replied, equally soft, his eyes never leaving mine, searching my soul deeply. But Sarah, I can't help how I feel anymore. His words pierced through my defenses, shattering the fragile walls I'd built around my heart. I stood there, torn between loyalty and longing, morality and passion, caught between everything I'd ever known and the man who now stood inches from me, offering the affection I'd long been denied. Then, gently, carefully, Jason reached up, brushing a stray lock of hair from my face. His touch was electric, igniting every nerve ending within me. My heart surged, tears blurred my vision, and suddenly, without thinking, without hesitation, I leaned into his touch, surrendering fully to the comfort and desire he offered. In a heartbeat, his lips softly brushed against mine, tentative at first, then deepening with sudden urgency. My entire world exploded in sensation, warmth flooding through me, passion overtaking reason, my heart pounding as I melted into his embrace. The garden, the neighbors, my marriage, everything faded into oblivion. All that mattered was Jason's gentle, passionate kiss, erasing years of loneliness and neglect in a single moment of forbidden intimacy. In that instant, everything changed. But just as quickly, reality came crashing down, harsh and unforgiving. I pulled back abruptly, breathless, trembling, overwhelmed by confusion, guilt, and fear. Jason's eyes widened in surprise, his breathing ragged, confusion mirroring my own. "I'm sorry," I choked out, my voice broken with emotion. I shouldn't have done this." Jason reached out, his expression desperate, vulnerable. "Sarah, please." But panic surged through me. The enormity of what we'd just done hit me fully, brutally, leaving me shaking. "No, Jason. This can't happen. Oh God, what have we done?" I turned away sharply, stumbling back toward the house, my vision blurred by tears. My mind raced frantically, guilt overwhelming me as images of Mark and Emily flashed vividly before my eyes. What had I done? I'd betrayed the people I loved most, the life I'd carefully built, and for what? A single passionate kiss? A brief moment of feeling alive? I ran inside, heartbroken, ashamed, feeling utterly lost. Inside the house, I hid in a quiet corner, fighting tears, fighting nausea, my heart aching with regret. I had crossed the line, shattered my vows, broken trust in a moment of weakness and desperation. Yet, even amidst the guilt, I couldn't deny the truth, despite the crushing regret. For those few passionate seconds, I had felt truly alive, fully seen, completely loved. It tore me apart inside. How could something that felt so right be so terribly wrong? In that moment, I felt alive yet utterly broken. I knew immediately there was no going back. The party continued around me, laughter echoing through the rooms, music playing softly. But I felt worlds apart, isolated in the shadow of my betrayal, desperately trying to comprehend how a single decision had forever altered my life. Little did I know, that passionate, forbidden kiss was just the beginning. Because what happened afterward changed our lives forever. In the days that followed that unforgettable night, I felt trapped inside my own life, my guilt a constant shadow that chased every step I took. Sleep became impossible, each night spent staring blankly at the ceiling, replaying the moment Jason's lips touched mine, haunted by the betrayal I'd allowed myself to commit. At home, every interaction became strained, filled with tension I couldn't shake. Mark continued with his routines, oblivious as always, yet now every conversation felt painfully forced, unnatural. Each time he spoke to me, each casual, indifferent question about my day felt like an interrogation. At breakfast, he'd look up from his newspaper, casually asking, "You okay, Sarah? You seem distracted." Those simple words sent panic through my heart, fear gripping me, convinced somehow he knew. I'd force a tight smile, mumbling vague reassurances, all the while avoiding eye contact, afraid he'd see through my facade, straight into the truth hidden deep in my guilty eyes. Even Emily noticed. I'd catch her watching me carefully, her teenage intuition sensing something had changed. Her innocent questions, "Mom, what's wrong?" "You seem quiet lately," sliced through me like blades. Each inquiry felt accusing, each glance a silent judgment, making my heart race in paranoia. I became hyper-aware of every gesture, every move I made around my family. Each innocent text message arriving on my phone filled me with dread, afraid someone would notice, would question me. Every time Mark left the room, my anxiety spiked, fearing he might suspect, might see the shame burning inside me. But the most painful part was Jason himself. Suddenly, the ease between us had vanished, replaced by unbearable awkwardness. We avoided each other desperately, no more casual texts, no more stolen moments of innocent conversation. Instead, there was silence, an icy, painful silence loaded with unspoken guilt and regret. We'd see each other occasionally, inevitably, at social gatherings, at neighborhood events, but each interaction was tortured, strained, weighed down by tension and unspoken confessions. Our eyes would briefly meet, and in that fleeting glance, 1,000 silent apologies passed between us, regret heavy in every unspoken word. I remember one evening vividly, our families gathered at another neighbor's home. Jason stood only feet away, engaged in casual conversation with Mark and others. But beneath his polite exterior, I felt his discomfort, the tension radiating like heat from a hidden flame. He glanced at me briefly, just a flicker of acknowledgement, but in that one look, I saw everything: guilt, shame, longing, fear. Every interaction was loaded with hidden meanings. Every glance felt like a confession. It felt impossible to breathe. Each smile he gave Mark was torture. Every polite nod, every casual joke he made felt unbearably fake. I found myself drifting to the edge of the room, pretending to check my phone, desperate to escape the suffocating pressure of our shared secret. But worst of all was the way Mark acted that night. Friendly, oblivious, laughing easily with Jason, treating him like nothing had changed. Watching their casual friendship continue as if nothing had happened was excruciating. It made my betrayal sharper, deeper, impossible to ignore. Eventually, Jason excused himself, quietly slipping outside onto the patio, clearly needing air. I felt an instinctive urge to follow, to speak, to try and ease the unbearable guilt between us, but fear held me frozen. I couldn't trust myself, afraid that one moment alone would lead to more mistakes, more regret, and deeper pain. So instead, I stayed frozen in place, watching through the glass door as Jason stood alone, shoulders hunched, head bowed, clearly burdened by the same guilt that now haunted me. My heart broke quietly in that moment, realizing our brief passion had shattered more than trust. It had destroyed our friendship, our peace, leaving us trapped in loneliness deeper than before. Returning home that night, my anxiety intensified, paranoia gripping every thought. Did Mark notice my strange behavior, my nervous glances? Did Emily sense the quiet panic radiating from me? Every word they spoke felt like suspicion, every silence an accusation. At dinner, I'd force conversation, pretending to smile, to act normal. Yet, deep inside, I trembled, afraid that at any moment, someone would point a finger, exposing me completely. I dreaded family time, the very thing I'd once craved so desperately, because now, being around Mark and Emily reminded me sharply of the lie I was living. Jason became distant, not just from me, but from everyone. Neighbors noticed him withdrawing, offering concerned comments about his unusual silence. Every whispered conversation among our friends felt like it was about me, about us. Accusations hidden behind polite smiles. I was consumed by the fear that someone knew, that somehow our secret had slipped out. I started avoiding social events, terrified of seeing Jason, terrified that our hidden shame would finally surface openly. Each ring of my phone filled me with dread, convinced that this would be the moment everything unraveled. Every knock at the door felt like impending disaster. I was living in constant fear, haunted by paranoia, by my own reckless choices. But through it all, my heart still ached, because beneath the crushing guilt and paranoia, part of me desperately missed the warmth, the comfort, the fleeting passion Jason had briefly given me. My betrayal had broken me deeply, Yet it had also awakened something I'd buried for years. It was agony, longing, confusion, an impossible mix of pain and need. In trying to feel less invisible, I'd made myself utterly alone, trapped by a secret that now held me prisoner. I was slowly losing my grip, afraid each day would bring the truth crashing down around me, destroying everything I loved. But the bitter irony was I had done this to myself. In those dark, guilt-ridden nights, I understood clearly that I'd changed everything forever. There was no undoing this, no taking back what I'd done. Every relationship was now tainted, every interaction painful, awkward, filled with hidden meaning and silent accusations. The quiet suburban life I'd once cherished now felt like a nightmare, my betrayal poisoning every aspect of it, turning love into suspicion, friendship into tension, trust into heartbreak. In those endless days after, when the walls of my home felt like they were slowly closing in, I was left alone with nothing but the weight of my betrayal. Each passing hour felt heavier than the last. Each quiet moment magnified the deafening thoughts spiraling within me. At night, I'd lie awake, my heart heavy with a mixture of guilt and longing so intense it physically hurt. I hated myself for what I'd done, despised the woman I'd become. But even in the depth of that self-loathing, I couldn't deny the painful truth. There was still a small part of me that clung desperately to the memory of Jason's kiss, his touch, his warmth, things I'd craved for so long that I'd lost sight of everything else. Every mirror I passed showed me a reflection I hardly recognized, a woman broken by her own actions, trapped between the harsh reality of betrayal and the haunting ache of unfulfilled desire. I'd stare deeply into my own eyes, searching desperately for some remnant of the woman I used to be, but finding only shame, regret, and emptiness staring back at me. The turmoil inside my mind was relentless, a storm raging without end. Guilt whispered fiercely that I deserved every ounce of pain, that my unhappiness was punishment for what I'd done. But beneath that guilt, beneath that overwhelming shame, was a quieter, more troubling thought, one that frightened me far more than anything else, that despite everything I'd risked, everything I'd lost, part of me would have done it again. Simply for another fleeting moment of feeling truly alive, truly seen and wanted. And that terrified me. I thought my actions would satisfy something missing within me. Instead, they opened a void deeper than I'd ever known. A void so dark, so consuming, that it felt impossible to fill. Because now, not only did I ache from loneliness and neglect, but I'd also lost the comfort of my integrity, my self-respect, and the quiet trust that had once been the foundation of my life. In moments of quiet desperation, I'd silently question everything I'd ever believed about love, loyalty, honesty. Was loyalty simply enduring endless neglect without complaint? Or did I deserve more affection, attention, genuine love? But if so, did I truly deserve it at the expense of someone else's happiness? Was honesty worth it, even if it meant destroying the family I'd tried so desperately to hold together? These questions consumed me, echoing in my mind day and night, tearing at my conscience, shaking my sense of who I was. Every time I looked at Mark, distracted, unaware, I was filled with a shame so powerful, it nearly brought me to tears. How could I have betrayed a man who, despite everything, trusted me implicitly? How could I face my daughter Emily, my beautiful, innocent daughter, knowing I'd broken our family, betrayed her trust, even if she didn't yet know the truth? Yet, amid the guilt and torment, memories of Jason lingered painfully. Every glance exchanged in those secret, stolen moments, every conversation filled with hidden meaning, every tender, gentle word he'd whispered replayed endlessly in my mind. I hated myself for missing him, for longing for the comfort he offered, even knowing the cost was unbearable. It became impossible to separate my heart from my mistakes. Love and betrayal had become intertwined, blurred so deeply within me that I didn't know how to untangle them. Was I in love with Jason, or was I merely in love with the idea of being seen, truly appreciated, genuinely desired? And if it was only the attention I craved, how could I justify the cost, the heavy price paid by my family, my integrity, my own heart? Some nights I'd lie awake, my pillow damp with tears, whispering apologies to Mark, to Emily, to myself, and to the woman I'd once hoped to become. Other nights, the ache for Jason's touch, his voice, his quiet understanding of my loneliness, became so intense, it felt physically unbearable. I was trapped, caught in a relentless cycle of shame and longing, desperately trying to reclaim the woman I'd once been, but fearing she was lost forever. I realized, painfully, that betrayal doesn't merely destroy trust, it destroys the person committing it.